Although Westminster Abbey has not altered much since Queen Elizabeth was crowned here, she has, and thus has the monarchy changed. A lip reader, at last, found the truth behind Queen Elizabeth's enigmatic words on her last days. Royal enthusiasts are left astounded by the amazing revelation of the Queen's secret message by the specialist. But just what did the Queen say that set off this commotion, and how will this disclosure affect the monarchy? Come find this message with us. Times the Queen displayed her actual emotions, spending most of her life silently within the palace, out from the public eye. Queen Elizabeth II was quiet. Her candid political or foreign affairs commentary was rare, and her interviews were practically unheard of. This was the royal approach to hide personal emotions from the people. The Queen also carefully carried up this legacy. But every now and then, during public events or special occasions, little bits of her own self would subtly show through. People observed her sense of humor, subdued frustrations, and friendliness in those days. Many people appreciate her even more from these straightforward, honest moments. Unlike most children, Queen Elizabeth was not sent to school as a small kid. She received instruction at home, privately. She resisted sitting back and observing, though, as the Second World War started. She chose instead to serve her nation. She enlisted in the Auxiliary Territorial Service and, like ordinary civilians, learned how to drive and repair army vehicles. Her bold and decisive action demonstrated to the world that she was more than just a regal person. She was someone ready for action. One particularly memorable event occurred in 2007 during a big photo shoot with well-known American photographer Annie Leibovitz. Agreed to be photographed, the Queen wore her heavy ceremonial robes and crown. The space originally exuded formality and quiet reverence. Things changed, though, when Leibovitz advised the Queen to take off her crown for a more laid-back shot. Those in the group recalled how fast the Queen answered, not with a jest but with exact words. She pointed to her regal garb and questioned why she would take off the crown while she was wearing that. She was heard clearly annoyed, having had enough of this. Later, the media revealed a glimpse of the scene, which gave the Queen's leaving the room an aggressive impression. As it happened, though, the footage had been removed out of sequence. Later on, the network apologized, but the moment stayed in people's memories as one of the few occasions the Queen's annoyance was recorded on video. Another brief, honest moment occurred in 2002 during a public event when Prince Philip was competing in a horse-driving contest. Excited photographers gathered too near the Queen's seat. She became clearly agitated, and in a forceful voice advised them to allow her some distance. It was a straightforward but effective reminder that, particularly with regard to personal comfort, even the most calm people have limits. One of the more unexpected tales occurred in 1954 during a royal tour in Australia. It is claimed that inside a cottage the Queen and Prince Philip got into a furious dispute. Prince Philip stormed away in fury, then returned under orders from the Queen. A nearby film crew observed. A biography about Prince Philip later verified that although the public never saw the footage, this made clear that, like every other marriage, theirs encountered difficulties even if they usually looked flawless in public. Queen Elizabeth's softer side showed more frequency as she grew older. At Buckingham Palace celebrating her 90th birthday, a light-hearted incident was recorded on camera in 2016. The Queen observed Prince William stooping down to talk with baby Prince George, while she stood on the balcony. She leaned in without thinking and softly instructed William to get up. The beautiful motherly moment went fast throughout the internet, reminding everyone that tradition still mattered to her even at happy family celebrations. Still, this is among the rare times the Queen expressed her opinions. Share with us. Former royal chef Darren McGrady made more than a 10-year career in the kitchens of Buckingham Palace, Sandringham, and Balmoral. He discovered far more about Queen Elizabeth II in that period than only her preferred cuisine, including her calm strength and love of organization. The Queen was renowned for her exacting standards about cuisine. Every meal had to be meticulously prepared, and every component had to be exactly correct. Nothing ever came up to chance. Every day the Queen wrote up a comprehensive menu. It enumerated all she would consume for breakfast, lunch, tea, and dinner. The chefs had to write it down and bring it to the Queen for approval if they wanted to test a new dish or provide a little spin on an old one. Even the little adjustments need her permission. The royal kitchen was a rigorous place with exacting standards where even a tiny error would be evident. McGrady made a little slip one glorious summer at Balmoral Castle that became a legendary tale. He thought of include veiled farmers' daughters, a light summertime dessert, on the menu. Made of stewed fruits, cinnamon crumble, and soft whipped cream, it was a basic yet great dessert. Excellent for a rural warm day. He neglected something quite crucial even though he remembered to put the name of the dessert on the menu. The cook's guide. The Queen returned a brief handwritten note the next day. She questioned in somewhat rushed handwriting, "Who are the veiled farmers' daughters?" It was not a friendly inquiry or a joke. It was the Queen's method of drawing attention to a deviation from the meticulous palace schedule. Later on, McGrady said it was among the few times he had actually annoyed the Queen. In her universe, in which every detail counted and everything had its place, a missing recipe was not little. Thank goodness McGrady sent in the recipe right away. His relief came from the Queen enjoying the dish during a taste test. Soon it became a favorite on sunny summer evenings. But the instructions stuck with McGrady. No detail about the palace seemed too little to count. The Queen's deliberate demeanor went beyond desserts as well. Regarding all her meals, she had strong preferences. Her hatred of garlic was one oddity. She hated the scent it left behind, hence it was never allowed in the palace kitchens. Particularly when she had to greet visitors, foreign leaders, or go to public gatherings. Knowing this restriction well, the royal chefs never added it into her cuisine. Regarding her preferred cuisine, Queen Elizabeth liked straightforward, sophisticated dinners. She particularly liked Dover sole made with courgettes and spinach. It was usually exquisitely prepared, mild in taste, and generally wholesome. When The Crown touched a nerve or first showed on Netflix, it soon rose to be among the most discussed series on planet. Its exquisite costumes, strong performance, and intriguing life narrative about Queen Elizabeth II drew people in everywhere. From the time she became queen till the several difficulties she encountered along the road. The drama, the royal secrets, and the behind-the-scenes glimpse at royal life were much enjoyed by viewers. However, the actual royal family, especially Queen Elizabeth herself, felt rather differently about it as viewers were riveted to their TVs. The Queen first seemed not really interested in the show. Actually, Prince Edward and his wife Sophie were the ones who first urged she view it. For the family to watch together during peaceful evenings, they even brought Crown DVDs to Windsor Castle. The Queen surprisingly thought the early episodes were fun. She loved how the show was grounded in real events and welcomed witnessing events from her history come to life on film. Early season actress Vanessa Kirby, who portrayed Princess Margaret, once told Princess Eugenie, "The monarch enjoyed the show. It appeared the Crown had struck a decent mix between honoring the royal family and delivering a dramatic narrative." But the tone of the narrative shifted as the show ran on and fresh seasons came out. The show started to center personal hardships and family strife more. The palace objected as certain stories were made more dramatic than they ought to be in order to keep the viewers captivated. The Queen suffered particular anguish one episode in season 2. It followed young Prince Charles through Gordonstown, a demanding Scottish boarding school. Having attended the same institution as a young man, Prince Philip thought it would make Charles robust and self-reliant. But in the episode, Charles was presented as depressed, bullied, and lonely writer of melancholy letters home. The way Prince Philip appeared on the show most offended the Queen. Actor Matt Smith depicted Philip as icy and callous toward his son. In one scene, he even called Charles weak. Though the emotional intensity of the scenario for Queen Elizabeth touched spectators, it felt personal. It was no more only a TV show. The narrative of her family felt unfair. Those close to the Queen reported she was quite offended. She worried that millions of viewers worldwide would assume the Crown was the whole truth, even though she knew it was only fantasy. Seeing Prince Philip described as cold and aloof pained her heart. He had always been a caring, active father in his way. Queen Elizabeth has always kept her family's reputation intact over their lengthy marriage. They had been through public scrutiny, rumors, and scandals. But this was unlike other things. The monarch made intimate family events public, and to her some things ought to have stayed inside the family. Those who know the royal family best believed the performance lacked total fairness. Prince Charles had indeed been candid about how difficult his academic years were. But the Queen and Prince Philip had shared parenting decisions, worried, discussed, and cared like any other parents would have. It wasn't as straightforward as the program presented. Later on, Prince Charles stated Gordonstown was difficult for him but also gave him insightful lessons on fortitude and autonomy. Sadly, the Crown omitted the important lessons he acquired and only displayed the depressing aspects. The royal family grew even more nervous as the Crown started to cover more current royal events. Particularly younger viewers, many began to believe everything they seen on the show to be factual. Concerned about people forgetting the distinction between entertainment and history, the Queen and her advisors, though the Crown might have overstepped, the Queen handled it elegantly. Let's observe how. The subdued answer of the Queen. The royal family operated on a straightforward policy for as long as anyone could remember. Remain mute. The monarchy hardly answered whatsoever people said on television, in newspapers, or in magazines. Their custom was to keep their ideas secret, presenting composed front to the world. And more than anybody, Queen Elizabeth followed this guideline. She never publicly objected, even as headlines dominated tales of her and her family. She chose to remain silent, presenting herself with dignity and grace. Whether it was a TV drama, a newspaper piece, or a documentary, the Queen thought it would be better to let the world speak while she carried on working. Still, behind the palace gates, things were different. Though in fact she never approved of the performance, many people thought Queen Elizabeth helped to sponsor it. For the royal family, this misreading complicated matters. Knowing the world watched, they had to be especially careful with what they said and did. For many years the monarchy prized elegance and silence. Certain aspects of royal life were supposed to be kept secret, away from the inquisitive public view. The Crown altered that, though. It combined fiction with truth, so that people would believe every word. It exposed terrible personal events, as well as old regal tales. The program discussed delicate issues including Princess Diana's problems and conflicts involving other family members. Every new season brought fresh headlines, fresh rumors, and a lot of concerns regarding the royal family's personal life. Over and over the Queen and her loved ones had to contend with these surges of interest. One former member of the royal household reportedly told me Queen Elizabeth silently embraced this. She knew people loved royal narratives. She understood the world would always be fascinated with life behind royal gates. Deep down, though, she thought some things ought to be holy, particularly with regard to her family. Queen Elizabeth followed one basic idea across her protracted rule. First come privacy, duty, and grace. She led with strength and compassion. She never once needed to defend herself. She thought her behavior had more impact than words could have. She so remained silent, even as the Crown set up emotions and headlines. Staff members and close friends knew her actual feelings. When the performance spun personal events or created narratives about the people she loved, they could see her grief. She never openly protested the Crown, but those who knew her could feel the subtle suffering underlying her composed smile. Royal weddings and the silent heart of the Queen. Weddings have always meant more than just two people saying for the British royal family, "I do." Grand events abound in public attention, history, and custom. Every royal marriage is meticulously designed to convey harmony, fortitude, and a link to the past. And for Queen Elizabeth II, these unions served more than only decoration. They lightly personally touched her heart. The Queen frequently carried mixed emotions inside, even if the world saw glittering crowns, elegant gowns, and applauding audiences. She thought back on her wedding day, her vows, and the weight of royal obligation, and although she grinned for the cameras, occasionally her mind was consumed with concerns only a queen and mother would know. July 29, 1981 was one of the largest royal marriages ever. Just 20 years old, Lady Diana Spencer married Prince Charles before 750 million people worldwide. Diana's exquisite white robe gave her fairy tale princess look. The day seemed amazing. London's streets were alive with celebration, music, and delight. Still beneath the lovely scenes were silent issues already present. The Queen stood next to Diana on the well-known Buckingham Palace balcony, waving to the delighted throngs. To the general people, it was the ideal picture. Later on, those close to the palace said that the queen had a few quiet words with Diana, soft words full of compassion, noting how weighty the crown could feel, especially for a young princess. The truth was more difficult to confront even as the Globe applauded. Prince Charles advised Diana to be courageous and present a great show for the guests the evening before the wedding. He also acknowledged, though, his heart wasn't totally in it. Though Diana put up a strong front, her fairy tale was already beginning to fall apart. Diana was really hurting. The queen most certainly noticed the conflict between her son and his wife. She remained impartial in public, as usual notwithstanding. Her responsibilities were to guard the monarchy, preserve customs, and stay away from meddling in personal affairs. Still years to come, the suffering from that unhappy marriage will remain in the royal family. Then the royal family saw a quite different kind of wedding in 2005. Prince Charles wed Camilla Parker Bowles, the woman many had blamed for divorcing Charles and Diana. People originally hated Camilla, labeling her and evaluating their connection. Nonetheless, slowly, views started to change. It remained a delicate subject nonetheless. Charles and Camilla decided on a basic civil ceremony instead of the customary royal nuptials conducted in big churches. Given Charles's eventual king status, this drew questions. And people murmured about possible rejection when Queen Elizabeth skipped the ceremony. The reality was actually somewhat different, though. Head of the Church of England, the Queen was limited by church policies, which at the time opposed remarriage following divorce inside the church. Attending a civil wedding could have appeared as against such guidelines. It was more about obligation than personal hate. Still, the Queen made sure she expressed her affection in her unique way. She went to the blessing at St. George's Chapel and then threw a friendly celebration at Windsor Castle. She made a rare light-hearted jest there, likening Charles and Camilla's lengthy, challenging path to a steeplechase, a demanding horse race full of hurdles. Let's consider still another incident that happened during Prince William's marriage. The quiet affection of a grandma. Prince William's April 2011 marriage to Kate Middleton was not simply another royal nuptial. For a family with difficult circumstances, scandals, heartache, and much of public criticism, it was a fresh start. But today seemed different. The love of William and Kate felt real, consistent, and full of compassion. Kate conducted herself with so much grace, composure, and quiet strength the public loved even though she wasn't born into royalty. And when Queen Elizabeth welcomed her into the royal family, it seemed like a real indication of royal approbation from the heart. Over 2,000 people packed Westminster Abbey on the momentous day, while the streets outside were crowded with happy faces, waving flags, and enthusiastic cheers. Millions of people saw this lovely love tale develop in front of their TVs worldwide. Kate wore Alexander McQueen, a magnificent gown created by Sarah Burton, made for a future queen. It was the ideal mix of modern elegance and heritage. The dress became among the most well-known wedding dresses in history, very fast. Though the day was filled with great festivities, one small yet lovely gesture caught my attention. A fleeting look of the Queen's more subdued side. Later on, a royal historian revealed how Queen Elizabeth leaned over to softly spoke to Prince Philip during the ceremony. Usually keeping their emotions secret from the outside, this was a rare, sensitive conversation between a couple. Not the large gathering, the flowers, or the music drew the Queen in. William and Kate chose that carriage to travel in following the wedding. They selected the exquisite open-top royal carriage used in former royal weddings, the 1902 State Landau. Most people hardly gave it any second thought. Classic and sophisticated, the State Landau carried other royal brides and grooms, including Prince Charles and Princess Diana. For Queen Elizabeth, however, one carriage had a particularly great place in her heart, the glass coach. The glass coach had purposes beyond only the Queen's transportation. It was the same carriage she boarded for her 1947 wedding day. Princess Diana had utilized it as well as Princess Anne had, to the Queen. It was bursting with memories of family, love, and regal custom. Later on, a talented lip reader speculated that the Queen might have gently informed Prince Philip she would have rather they utilize the glass coach instead. Though the audience missed it, that small moment told volumes about the Queen's love of family customs and the small things that link the past to the present. For many years before Prince Harry wed Meghan Markle in 2018, the royal family was under public eye for all the wrong reasons. They trailed everywhere with scandals, misery, and family issues. But Queen Elizabeth II constantly kept everything together with her steady hands and cool head. The Queen had seen all by the time Harry and Meghan's wedding arrived. But this wedding would try her endurance in ways no one would have predicted. The big day was rather lovely. It happened Windsor at St. George's Chapel. World leaders, celebrities, and royal family members abound on the guest list. Around the globe, millions of people tuned in eager to witness this novel chapter in royal history. Former American actress and divorced woman, Meghan offered the royal family something unique. Queen Elizabeth greeted her cordially, first. Meghan accompanied the Queen for special events and was invited to Christmas at Sandringham. The beginning felt to be a pleasant one. Behind the grins, though, was trouble building. Later on, royal specialists said that the days before the wedding were trying. Meghan's wedding dress revealed the first hint of problems. Meghan chose a brilliant pure white gown with a long 16-foot veil instead of a gentle cream or ivory, as custom advised for second marriages. That is indisputable, no one could contest. It did, however, draw some questions. The Queen silently questioned why a divorced woman would choose such a conventional white gown, a color meant to represent purity in a first marriage. Royal author Tom Bower stated, people close to her felt she was a little taken aback, even if she never discussed it in public. Later on, relative of the Queen Lady Elizabeth Anson claimed the Queen felt the white was a little too severe. It had nothing to do with fashion. It revolved on the message. Camilla showed quiet respect for ancient customs by wearing a soft cream dress and no veil when she married Prince Charles. Though stunning, Meghan's outfit seemed to ignore those little but significant rituals. The legendary tiara incident presented still another problem. Meghan's heart was set on a specific tiara, but permission was denied. Angela Kelly, the Queen's closest advisor and dresser, looks after the royal jewels. She adhered to rigorous guidelines on which stones might be worn. Rumors abound that Meghan was unhappy with the way things were run and that the Queen overheard a conflict between Angela Kelly and Meghan. Those near the Queen claimed she was unhappy about it. She thought everyone deserved respect and kindness, including those who put great effort to preserve royal traditions. Then arrived still another trying situation. The father of Meghan, Thomas Markle, he got caught in a scandal arranging pictures with paparazzi just before the wedding. Then he said he was too sick to travel. Hoping to defuse the matter, the Queen gently counseled Meghan to reconcile ties with her father before the wedding. Their bond was already damaged, though. Meghan eventually walked the aisle alongside Prince Charles instead. Prince Harry even made an unannounced ask to wear his military uniform bearded. Even if they were not in active duty, royal officials were expected to be clean-shaven for official ceremonies. Still, the Queen agreed during a quiet conversation. Many felt it resulted from her intense affection for her grandchild. Still, there was another mild rule bending. Queen Elizabeth glowed as always on the wedding day. Sharp-eyed watchers, however, noted times when her demeanor became solemn, maybe a touch fatigued. Benevolent celebrations and happy music belied a sorrowful heart the Queen carried. Those close to her later claimed that, although she backed Harry and Meghan's marriage, she had become tired of the drama that seemed to follow. The Queen decided, privately, to cease obsessing over it. She chose to let go of this one after so many years of meticulously controlling family issues. The issues persisted, though, well beyond the wedding. Public debates, misinterpretation abound, and the press ran non-stop with stories. The Queen managed everything with her customary serenity, but those close could see she was getting worn out. She was on her peak already. What followed set her off. But what exactly was this? Let's start with it, a name that defied quiet. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle revealed the birth of their baby daughter in 2021, the globe was taken aback. Lilibet Diana was their name for her, a name with great significance. Lilibet was more than just any name. That was Queen Elizabeth's childhood moniker. Elizabeth was not correctly pronounced. When the Queen was a small child, she identified herself as Lilibet. And soon her parents, Sister Margaret, and then her beloved husband, Prince Philip, all gently referred to her by that name. She was Her Majesty, the Queen to the world, but to those near her heart, she was just Lilibet. People therefore questioned how the Queen would react about Harry and Meghan's choice of name for their daughter. Harry and Meghan announced to the world they possessed the Queen's blessings. But murmurs within the castle walls told another tale. Some royal insiders surreptitiously claimed the Queen hadn't been asked before the name became public. Royal analyst Phil Dampier claims the Queen felt a bit uncomfortable with it, not because of the name itself, but more because of how it was presented to the public. Some in the palace felt as though the Queen totally accepted and agreed with them, but in fact, she might have been taken off guard. People inside the royal household also worried about future developments. Would public advertisements or media negotiations utilize pictures of infant Lilibet with the Queen? Always cautious about safeguarding her family and reputation, the Queen silently decided there would be no official picture taken of her, with tiny Lilibet revealed. She never spoke publicly about it, but everyone around understood her position. The Queen felt from Harry and Meghan other subtle hurts, not this one. As a queen and as a grandmother, Queen Elizabeth had sought to show Harry extra love and direction following the sad death of Princess Diana. She had always kept him near at heart. But the Queen was saddened when Harry and Meghan sat down with Oprah Winfrey for their well-publicized interview in 2021. The pair discussed suffering, neglect, and even hinted at racism in that interview. These statements traveled the globe in minutes. This was a difficult moment for Queen Elizabeth, who had spent her whole life thinking family issues should be resolved quietly and discreetly. She felt the crown represented more than just a crown. It was a vow to serve, a responsibility, and something more than any one person. She was profoundly offended when she saw it included in public rumors. Those close to her claimed she suffered more than simply the comments. It was the way private family affairs were revealed for public view. She never chastised Harry and Meghan through it all. She never removed their royal titles or made disparaging public comments against them. However, something had subtly changed. Their formerly close link was never exactly the same. Carefully developed over years, the trust had been eroded. Her heart felt both happy and sad as Queen Elizabeth aged. Proud that the monarchy endured through all its challenges, still strong. Sad as she could sense some of the people she loved most becoming further apart. In what way do you suppose? How might this exposure change the monarchy? Remember to like, share and subscribe. Furthermore, leave comments with your ideas. Click on the video displayed on your screen before you go.